Welcome to the Wild Hall with Elise. This is an intimate, sensual experience for women who want the truth in their bodies, not just in their heads. And I'll tell you now, I'm direct, I face what's uncomfortable, I don't tiptoe. I'm here to unleash the truth, embodied, raw, and real. When you listen, you'll feel something shift in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. You'll get language for what you've been feeling all along, and clarity you can actually use. Here, everything belongs: natural health, motherhood, womanhood, identity, love, endings, devotion, and the brave decisions that shape a life, like new beginnings. And when I'm on a path of discovery, you're coming with me. I'll share where I've been, where I'm going, and what I'm learning as I go. Because life doesn't hand us a neat lesson plan. It hands us a wild haul and invites us to make meaning from what we carry. Welcome to the Wild Hall with Elise. Follow, subscribe, and come walk with me. I've always believed that deep exploration, whether of the self or the universe, has to lead back to the earth, back to the real life we live. Because insight that cannot live in your real life is not wisdom. It's an experience. It's a ride. And right now, psychedelic journeys are becoming more normalized in wellness spaces, spiritual spaces, even clinical environments. They're being spoken about as portals, awakenings, and reset buttons. And sometimes they truly are. But what isn't talked about enough is what happens after the journey. Let's begin with what we know about the brain today. Classic psychedelics like psilocybin, LSD, ayahuasca through DMT primarily affect the brain's serotonin system, especially something called the 5-HT2A receptor. Serotonin plays a major role in cognitive processes such as mood, perception, meaning-making, and sense of self. And one of the most consistent findings in neuroscience is that psychedelics temporarily quiet something called the default mode network. The default mode network is the network active when you're thinking about yourself, replaying the past, imagining the future, worrying, or storytelling internally. It's essentially the brain's inner narrator. It builds your identity, your autobiography, your sense of separateness, your sense of this is me. When psychedelics enter the system, activity in this network decreases. And when that happens, the rigid sense of I am this softens, which opens perception toward I am part of this. The brain shifts from narrative mode to experiential mode, from self-story to direct sensing. And research shows that during this time, the brain becomes more globally connected. Areas that normally don't communicate begin to speak, which may lead to novel insight, emotional release, expanded perspective, along with a sense of unity or interconnectedness. Some studies also suggest psychedelics may temporarily promote neuroplasticity, allowing for new neural pathways to form. So yes, there are real biochemical and neurological changes occurring. Most of these are temporary windows, not permanent rewiring. Which brings me to our real conversation. Do people really make big life changes after a journey? Yes, sometimes immediately. Johns Hopkins psilocybin studies found that participants often reported increased openness, shifts in life priorities, changes in relationships, and altered career direction. Many describe their experience as one of the most meaningful events of their lives. And this can be beautiful. People may reconcile relationships, release addictions, reorient toward purpose, experience reduced depression. There is legitimate therapeutic promise here. And what is equally true, when journeys occur without proper preparation or integration, people sometimes make major life decisions that they later regret. This isn't hypothetical. A 2016 survey published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology studied the challenging or a bad trip psychedelic experiences and found some individuals experienced distress lasting months, over a year, and in some cases even longer. Common aftermath included confusion about self-identity, derealization, which is when the external world feels unreal, dreamlike, foggy, or distorted. Also included impulsive decisions, relationship rupture, and destabilization, which refers to increased vulnerability or the breakdown of established patterns. And often the pattern looked like, I saw the truth, followed by immediate action. Examples reported clinically and anecdotally also include ending long-term partnerships overnight, leaving careers impulsively, moving away from community, rejecting responsibilities, only to later feel disoriented, ungrounded, and regretful, not because the insight was false, but because it wasn't integrated. It's important to note that most psychedelic experiences are self-focused, deeply inward. They often center on personal healing, personal freedom, personal meaning, personal happiness, and that isn't wrong. Here's a side note. It really makes me think of the major independent way of living we have collectively, I believe, agreed that today we now recognize as toxic. So putting people who may not be fully ready for a journey into self-focused experience, who will likely have a more difficult time discerning the degree of personal enlightenment or fulfillment they access into their ordinary life, it's concerning to me of having these kind of experiences being so accessible and also maybe not properly trained individuals leading them. So here we go. The tension it can create is insight gained in isolation can feel absolute. Without context, their nervous system may interpret relief as truth. But relief is not always instruction or has a plan. And this is where people can lose relational perspective, communal responsibility, earthly context. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Sometimes we need to be reminded of this. A journey may say, leave everything, start anew. Integration asks, what does this mean for how I live in relationship to myself and others now, today? Let's imagine what it would look like to receive proper support and integration. In research settings, positive outcomes correlate strongly with these three elements. Number one is preparation, understanding what may arise, understanding personal psychological history, understanding intention versus expectation. Number two, container, a safe environment with emotional support, grounding presence, non-reactive guidance. And three, the most important piece, integration. Integration means turning insight into embodied life, not I saw something, therefore I act, but I saw something, now I discern. Integration often includes therapy or reflective dialogue, journaling, somatic processing, and time. Sometimes this means waiting weeks or months before making major life changes so that integration can really have a steeped-in effect. The journey is not complete at the peak. It is complete when the insight can live inside family, community, responsibility, relationship, and land. Because the question is not only, what did I see, but how does this change how I care? While psychedelics have their place for radical reflection, it is not the only way out of the self. This conversation of psychedelics should be paired with conversations of other ways to soften the default mode network, like nature and meditation. Research shows time spent in natural environments reduces activity tied to rumination and self-focused thinking. In simple terms, less looping self-story, more sensory presence, more environmental awareness. Nature moves us from, I am thinking about life, to I am participating in life. When we feel wind, touch soil, listen to water, look into open sky, even being in the company of our pets, they are nature. Consider anything in nature that you can support or be supported by. The brain naturally shifts from internal narrative to embodied belonging. Interconnectedness is not exclusive to altered states. The forest has been offering it for millennia. We can access altered states of consciousness without drugs, and women often do this naturally in childbirth. We won't go into all the ways to access altered states of mind here, but with practices like guided meditation, visualization, and slowing down the pace of life, you can organically create new biochemical and neural pathways that resonate with your lived life today. Small changes in your real effing life can bring about real feelings of living your truth, having a sense of freedom, and being connected as part of the whole. In closing, a journey may dissolve the self, but integration restores relationship to yourself, your partner, children, community, purpose, the earth. True insight doesn't remove you from life. It deepens your participation in it. It doesn't just ask, what makes me feel free? It asks, how do I live more truthfully with others? Because the journey is not the transformation, living differently is. And wisdom is not proven by what you see in altered states. Wisdom is proven by how you love, how you stay, how you choose, how you belong after your return. Thank you for listening to The Wild Hall with Elise. If you'd be so kind to follow, rate, and share this episode with someone you know who'd resonate with it, I'd greatly appreciate it. Check out the show notes for more details and connect with me anytime at birthhumanity.com or on Instagram or Facebook at birthhumanity. Talk to you soon.